What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video. Got a special one here for you guys. Something that I want to continue to do for the season, bring on guys from their respective teams. As we all know, heading into week 2, the New England Patriots will be traveling to Seattle to play the Seattle Seahawks. And what better way to get your news than to bring on the top authority for the Seahawks news in my boy, NorbCam. NorbCam, what is going on, buddy?
Hey, not much, man. Our teams are 1-0, undefeated. That's the best way to start the year, man. So I'm riding high, just as I'm sure you are.
Yeah, for sure. Look, hey, sadly though, one of these teams is at the end of Sunday going to be heading into not a winning season. You know, they're going to be that undefeated season will officially be over for them. But you know what? Like you said, both 1-0, both these teams got a lot to fight for. Two very good teams. And I mean, hey, Russell Wilson, one of my favorite quarterbacks. So like watching him against the Patriots defense, which is one of the best ranked, is going to be extremely fun to watch, even as a Patriots fan. I also have him on fantasy, so I'm on mixed feelings here. You know, do I want him to play well? Do I not want him to play well? It's a tough situation, but you know, let's just hop right into this. So ultimately, how are you feeling about this matchup?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good right now. I released a video before the start of the season. I basically kind of predict what, like I'm sure most vloggers do, predict how your season's going to go. But I do it with a little musical parody vibe to it. So I actually predicted that we might lose that Atlanta game, which I was completely wrong on, happy to say. So, but I did pick Seattle. Coming out with a win on Sunday night prime time. So I've got to stick with that assessment. And right now, based on what I saw of my team, I feel pretty good that if they can continue what they started against Atlanta, that we could have a pretty good chance at that. Now, I saw some of the highlights of the Patriots Dolphins game, so I got to see some of what the new look Cam Newton-led Patriots offense looked like. But I didn't get to see the entire thing. So I don't know the little nuances. I just saw that, you know, Cam was doing what Cam does, you know, a lot of running, hard to stop. And that's not unfamiliar territory. We played the Panthers many times over the last several years, almost to a point where it felt like they're one of the division teams. It seemed like every year we play them, whether it be in the playoffs or during the regular season. So playing Cam Newton is no new situation for us. It's actually a pretty fun rivalry. So to see him, strangely in a Patriots uniform will be different, but similar, if you know what I mean. So I'm looking forward to both the Patriots rematch aspect and facing an old foe who we didn't see last time because he was injured, Cam Newton. So for a lot of reasons, and it's prime time, baby. So I'm excited about.
I'm excited too.
It sucks that I can't be there because this would have been the first game that I would have been going to, and I never miss a home game. I miss a home game in so many years. So to not be able to be in the room, in the building, cheering on the team and screaming my lungs out is going to hit me hard when I know I can't do that. But excited nonetheless.
Yeah, are you guys like not allowed to have any fans in the stadium, or is it like a certain capacity for you guys?
No, it's completely. I mean, as far as us normal people, you know, season ticket holders, we were told specifically first 3 games, no fans at all. Yet to be determined about the remaining schedule. They might have exceptions to certain, you know, maybe family members or select people, but to the general crowd, we are not allowed in the building.
Yeah,
no 12s in the building, which is
actually
that. Lucky for you guys.
Lucky for us. Yeah, it will give us a break. It will give us a break. The Seahawks, the Chiefs, and the Patriots, some of the toughest stadiums to play in for sure. So it does give us a little bit of a break, Pats fans. So that's a positive for us. But so, you know, just a little recap of week 1 for those of you who did not see the Seahawks. Just give us a rundown. You know, how did the Seahawks look week 1 against Atlanta?
They looked really good. And I think the part that I was really excited about was just the overall flow of the offense. There's been a lot of talk offseason about this phrase that has been kicked around, especially up here in Seattle, about let Russ cook. And there's been some debate that they haven't let Russell Wilson really let it go, that they've been always making it a run-first offense, that we've got arguably one of the best quarterbacks, voted number 2 by his peers in with the Seahawks, and that we've never truly let him just sort of let the offense flow through him, let him throw that deep ball, let him take more control of the offense. And so we've all been hoping that would be the case. And I think after seeing that performance, it looks a lot like that's kind of what they're doing. I mean, he threw the ball for 30 5 times. He was 31 for 35, I believe. And normally Russell Wilson throws the ball maybe mid-20s, high 20s. So they definitely let him throw the ball more. He had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 300-plus yards, and 140-plus passer rating, which is –
that's bizarre.
I'm never going to argue with that. So one of the best starts by a Seahawks quarterback in an opening game in the history of the Seahawks. So if that's the sign of things to come, I like the way they're definitely moving with the offense. It's the way it should be. And I guess I have to say other first impressions was Jamal Adams are obviously picked up in our secondary from the Jets in that blockbuster trade. Man, he was everything as delivered. I mean, I was excited to see him because I knew what he could do, but until you see him do it with your team, it's just kind of speculation. Of course, no preseason, no nothing. We had nothing to go off of. We couldn't even watch training camp, for crying out loud. So all we had was tape from last year. But to see him out there blitzing the quarterback, getting in the backfield, on coverage, making tackles, playing in the box, it was really it was a sight to behold for us. And we have not had that kind of a player since Cam Chancellor retired from the Seahawks a few years due to his neck injury. So me as a personal, one of my favorite fans, favorite players was Cam Chancellor. Seeing a guy who can play like him and maybe even another level is pretty exciting. So 2 guys on each side of the ball, Russell Wilson, Jamal Adams, definitely the 2 standout guys in that game on Sunday against Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely. And, like you said, Russell Wilson went off. That man got me so many fantasy points, and I was surprised. I was surprised that you guys did as well as you did. Not because you're a bad team, but just the statistics he put up were just bizarre. I didn't even see that coming. Again, not to hate on Russell Wilson because he's easily one of my favorite quarterbacks to play the game. But hey, this is definitely going to be a challenge for the Seahawks this upcoming week too. Like, this will definitely help you guys determine, like, okay, what is your offense going to look like? Because the Patriots, 1, have one of the best defenses in the league, but 2, statistically have the best secondary in the league. Takeaways, whatnot. So this will be the ultimate test for you guys. And I'm really excited because, like you said, they really let Russell Wilson get into that passing game week 1 against Atlanta, and he did extremely well. How are they going to do versus the best secondary in the league when you have J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips and company? So that's a matchup that I'm excited to watch for, as I'm sure you are. But, what would you say the strength of the Seahawks team is?
Well, I said enough already with Russell Wilson and Jamal Adams. Clearly, those guys are two players to watch. But what I liked about it, too, is Russell Wilson spread the ball around to a lot of different receivers. He hit Chris Carson with a couple of touchdown passes, DK Metcalf streaking down the left sideline on a 4th down play, by the way. And Greg Olsen, the once retired Panther, speaking of former Panthers, who Cam Newton knows very well. Those guys used to tear it up against us, and we got his first touchdown for the Seahawks. So I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think we have one of the best receiving core in the NFL. Tyler Lockett quietly had some good plays, but didn't really have that breakout thing because he was spreading out to so many different guys. And then tight end Will Dissly, who ever since the 2 years he's been with us, has started off really strong, but now he's got Greg Olsen to share on the other side. So Wilson's got a lot of different weapons. So I feel like he's just kind of tried out those toys this past weekend, and now next weekend it'll probably be different because, like you said, you guys have a really excellent secondary, and Atlanta definitely does not. Those guys were giving him windows wide open at times, so it was very easy for Wilson to hit targets down the field. It won't be so easy this time around. So I think he's going to be hitting a lot more tight ends, a lot more intermediate stuff, and they'll probably get a little bit more creative with more plays, screen plays, backs out of the backfield. So I think. And I think they're going to probably run it a little bit more, knowing that they can't, probably get away with as much against your secondary. So look to see a different type of offense, maybe not quite slinging it around as much on Sunday against your team. Defensively, we played well, and Matt Ryan, he always gets his yards, throws the ball a lot. I think at 50 attempts or something like that. And he was my fantasy quarterback, by the way. So playing fantasy for the first time was definitely surreal to be rooting for, actually had 3 guys on the Falcons on my fantasy team.
Wow.
So it was a strange feeling to be rooting for 3 guys on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
But Ryan always gets his throws. Julio Jones, 3 of their receivers got over 100 yards catching, receiving. So when you look at the numbers, they still had a lot of yardage. And while the scoreboard reflects what looks almost like a blowout, it could have been a lot closer. And really the difference was Atlanta did some really strange things, especially they were 0 for 4 on 4th down, and it cost them a lot of points. They had a long drive. They didn't get any points out of it because they went for it and didn't make it. They faked a punt, which would have been a good play, but then they fumbled the ball. We got it turned into a score. So we had these big swings of points, which made the score look lopsided. But we were really in actually much closer match than I think the scoreboard indicated. And some of that revealed to me some chinks in the armor where they were running Gurley, and he was getting some yards on us early on. And the Atlanta defense was getting a lot of pressure on Russell. First play of the game, we were sacked. In fact, the first drive, he was sacked twice. We were able to overcome that and still score a touchdown. But it wasn't perfect by any means. And I think that offensive line is still figuring things out. The right side particularly was having some troubles. We had 2 false starts and a holding call all in a row. Lost like 20-something yards on one drive that took us out of ideal field position. So there was a lot that is yet to be desired. But like I said, the exciting part definitely overweighs the parts that are of concern, but I expect a much harder fight and a much better coach team playing against the Patriots.
Yeah, for sure. So, we definitely touched a lot on, the strength of this team and the players the Patriots definitely need to watch out for. You touched a little bit on the weaknesses, possibly the offensive line, maybe, the Seahawks secondary. Is there anything truly that you look at your team and you go, this is the biggest area of concern for me?
I'm still not sure about our defensive line. Everybody in Seattle knows that we were all hoping to get Clowney back or sign Everson Griffin or Ngakwe, and we got none of them. We got none of the big free agent guys that we all thought one of them was going to end up here. So we've got basically who we got. And a couple of the guys who we did bring in are Bruce Irvin, former Seahawk, coming back to return to us, and Ben Semeoa, and a lot of our second-year guys. So none of these guys are head turners. No one was going, oh, my gosh, we got to watch out for Ben Semeoa, right? But it's yet to be determined whether how solid this team is, how good are they going to be at stopping the run and getting pressure when it counts. One of those 3 sacks we had was Jamal Adams on a blitz. And so while that's great, I don't want to have to count on that. You don't want to have to count on blitzing linebackers or safeties in order to get pressure on the quarterback. We did have a couple other sacks, which was positive. Ben Semeoa, the one I just mentioned, he got one of those sacks, in fact, on a 4th down, which was huge because it kept him out of the end zone. And one of our other linemen, a second-year player, LJ Collier, I believe he was the only one who got the other sack. So, so the other guys did step up in that game when it counted. So I'm just still not sure until I see a little bit more tape on these guys. It's hard to know exactly what we have in the trenches because they're not proven. They're guys who are sort of, second-year guys, or in the case of Irvin and Mayoa, these guys have quietly been building up their resume and doing well, but they, those guys who kind of float from team to team, and now they're back here trying to, make a name for themselves. And I'm hoping that these guys will step up because they're kind of not names that you count on to be the guys to do it. So I think if there's going to be a time for them to build a name for themselves, this is the year to do it, and we'll see if they can. But that's probably my biggest concern in terms of question marks. I felt pretty good about our secondary. Jamal Adams speaks for himself. Quandre Diggs was out there making plays. We did have Leno Hill, when we had the nickel defense out there, he got burned a couple times. So we are vulnerable deep. We're definitely not locked down quite yet. So I think some of these guys, again, these sort of players who are in their second, third year trying to figure things out for themselves are still, not quite there yet, proving themselves, and are still, trying to get that contract, to show that they belong here, and yet to be determined with a couple of these other players. So we'll see, man. Still some things to be nervous about, even though we had this big win.
Yeah, definitely. So I think this is going to be the question that a lot of the New England Patriots fans want to know. And no better person to ask than you. How do the New England Patriots come out with a W? I'm sure this isn't something you necessarily want to think of or something that you're kind of sitting down and being like, all right, yeah, this is how New England's gonna beat my team. But what do you think New England has to do to just come out with this W against the Seahawks?
Well, we all know Bill Belichick is notoriously famous for having really good game plans one week to the next, that he doesn't just take the same approach every week and play the same straight up philosophy. He'll take one game and against one team and do it this way, and the next game might be a completely different set of formations and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Cam Newton, you've got a guy who can run the ball. You didn't have that before with Tom Brady. So, but we have dealt with Cam Newton before. So Seattle, I feel like the fact that they practice against Russell Wilson, they have a running quarterback in practice all the time. So that's a good thing. I think that Newton ran for a lot of yards last week against Miami. I feel like against us, they might be able to neutralize that a little bit better, especially with Jamal Adams being that guy who's going to be in the box most of the time. I feel like he can take some of that threat away, which is going to probably force New England to have to throw the ball, which means they're really going to be testing out our secondary and consequently our pass rush. I think that as Belichick often does, he finds ways to take advantage of our weaknesses. And if he realizes that, okay, we can't run Cam Newton against these guys, well, we're going to get it another way. We'll just have Julian Edelman catch the ball for 5 yards and then sprint for another 10. That has driven me crazy for the past, I don't know how many years he's been on the team, but it feels like it's a bad movie I keep seeing over and over again. But I expect to see that. I expect to see until we can prove. Like last year, that was one of our Achilles heels. We could not stop crossing routes and those quick hitting drag routes across the middle of the field. It felt like our linebackers were always a step shy. Corners weren't bumping and pressing coverage, letting these receivers just have free run. The Rams were doing it to us. The 49ers were doing it to us. And the Patriots could have been doing it to us last year if they were playing against us. But this is a different team now. We've got Quentin Dunbar now playing on the right side corner, as I mentioned, Jamal Adams. So we've got different personnel, and I think the way Seattle schemes things has a lot to do with their personnel. We were doing when we had the Legion of Boom and Cam Chancellor, we would have one single high safety in Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor playing in the box, and then two corners locking down the receivers, really good at press coverage. And Cam Chancellor made sure we didn't have guys in the middle coming across free. He would blow those guys up if it happened. Well, we didn't have him anymore, and we didn't have the same lockdown corners. We didn't have Earl Thomas. So we started running two high safeties. We didn't have a guy patrolling the box in the middle. The corners weren't as good. Shaquille Griffin's pretty good, but we had our other corner on the other side, Trey Flowers, who was driving me crazy with his 10-yard cushions off the ball. And so these guys just had open lanes all over the place, and it was so frustrating to watch. Well, I feel like, and I'm hoping that that's the case, that this will not be the replay of that movie this year. And hopefully if they can take that away, then that will at least take one of the other options away from what I think New England would normally come out trying to do. So if New England can scheme and find our weaknesses, and whether that be finding our weakness in the secondary or our linebackers, or take advantage of a pass rush if we don't have one, well, he's going to find a way to exploit that. So that's probably it. I'm mostly concerned about the defensive side of the ball. I feel like the offensive side, I feel very confident that we can move the ball and score, despite the fact that you have a very good secondary and one of the best defensive head coaches. I feel like we will be able to move the ball both on the ground and in the air. But the defense side, I'm just not sure yet, because I haven't seen enough of this team. But so far, they look pretty good against a team like Atlanta. Granted, though, Atlanta put up a lot of yards, so that is still concerning despite the win.
Yeah, and I think you said it perfectly. When I'm kind of thinking about the Seahawks, although I'm not definitely invested the way you are, you are definitely the guy for the Seahawks. When I do look at that team, I definitely think, that offense against our defense, although we do have a good defense, what Pete Carroll is able to do as a head coach is unbelievable. I think he is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, period. Of course, Belichick, Pete Carroll, they're very familiar with each other. I think they have some pretty similar styles to each other also. So, it's going to be a very interesting game. Like you said, the Patriots are going to have to exploit that defense and some of the holes that you guys have there in order to come out with this win. But final question for you. What are your final predictions on this game?
Okay, so I put this in my prediction video, so I'm going to have to stick with that. I had to go with the score with Seattle winning it 28-24, poetically, to get a win at home. And I got to add to that, when you mention the Seahawks and the Patriots, one word comes to mind, at least one term comes to mind. That's, of course, Super Bowl 49, 1 yard line, Malcolm Butler, whatever, all that stuff. But if you take that out, we've actually fared very well against the Patriots because we beat you guys in 2012. We beat you again in 2016 when we played you in Foxborough. And now here we are in 2020. We don't see each other very often, like once every presidential election. But here we are. And as far as the regular season is concerned, we're doing pretty good. We'll see if we can keep that record up, that streak up on Sunday.
Exactly. So like you said, it's going to be a really good matchup. Statistically, how this is fared, like it's going to be just butting heads. And I think this is just kind of the game that you like to see. You don't always like to just see those games where, it's going to be a win, it's going to be a loss. Like I said, both these coaches, how they like to do things, very familiar, very similar in each other. So it's going to be a really great game to watch.
Every game the Seahawks and the Patriots have played in the past 8 years, since 2012 anyway, have been great. I mean, we beat you guys on a last-minute long throwaway Russell Wilson to Sidney Rice. Then, of course, there was Super Bowl 49, which was right down to the wire.
Yep.
In 2016 in Foxborough, you guys were at our 1 yard line in a very controversial play where Cam Chancellor, my favorite player, was up against Gronk. A lot of contact, and the ball felt incomplete to have you guys lose the game at our 1 yard line. And then here we are. So there has not been a dull game yet in the past 8 years between these two teams. I don't expect it to be any different on Sunday.
Exactly. Super stoked. Norb, I want to thank you for coming onto the channel. Like always, guys, make sure that you subscribe to Norb for all of your Seahawks news. You guys are going to want to get in on that stuff. Make some really great content all around, no matter if you're a Seahawks fan or not. So I'm going to link his channel in the description box below. Remember to go subscribe to him. Check out Fan to Fan. Of course, Norb is also a part of that. So if you want to see some more of him, some more of me, go ahead and check out Fan to Fan. Remember to subscribe to the channel, too, for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.